Welcome to the session entitled Governments, Policymakers, Communities Can Be Core to Offset, Support, Moderate Financial, Technical, Commercial Risks. What are some of the best examples all industry participants can emulate, build on? So my name is Jocelyn Douhéret. I'm a director of the Société du Plan Nord, an organization whose mission is to contribute to the integrated development of Northern Quebec, and I will be your moderator today. As you may know, Quebec ranked 6th best mining jurisdiction worldwide in 2021. That survey from the Fraser Institute is an attempt to assess how mineral potential and public policy factors affect exploration investment. As we said, government, policymakers, and communities can have a positive impact by moderating financial, technical, and commercial risks of a new mining project. This is particularly true in the challenging sector of critical and strategic minerals. So thank you for joining us today to hear representatives from Quebec in an engaging roundtable panel discussion about government and stakeholder initiatives to foster the development of the critical and strategic mineral sector in Quebec. As Quebec just launched its plan for the critical and strategic mineral, having a common orientation is a huge factor of success to be considered, and this is what we will see first through a short presentation by each of our panelists. So I am pleased to introduce you to Nathalie Camden, Assistant Deputy Minister of Mines at the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources. Then we will have Tony Brisson, CEO of SOQUEM, and then Francis Fournier, CEO of Corem, will talk to us about his organization. So first, Mrs. Camden, can you tell us more about the global initiative which is led by the government of Quebec and particularly the ministry to foster the development of the mining sector and more precisely the critical and strategic mineral sector?
Thank you, Jocelyn. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today. I want to present to you as a government what we do to facilitate mining development. First, the government of Quebec believes that we have to give clear orientations on what we have and what we want, of course. In that sense, we have to provide the best tools to support proponents and promote economic development. As mentioned by Jocelyn, our government has unveiled two major initiatives in the last year. A National Action Plan on Critical Minerals, the first ever in Canada, covering all aspects from exploration to recycling, including processing and manufacturing, as well as a battery strategy aimed at attracting cell and CAM manufacturers in Quebec. As you know, investors can take advantage of our upstream potential and our location within the North American space. We also want to make sure that all departments, including agencies and bodies, are closely working towards increasing mining development, including Hydro-Québec, Investissement Québec, and different partners. But what is it that we can offer to our potential private partners? That we offer a stable, a secure, an ethical, and a sustainable environment to partners, a good ESG report, but that you know. But let me take a few more minutes to give you some additional examples of what we want to do. Quebec supports businesses at all stages of the development of a mining project in a way to reduce and share the risk. For example, in the area of exploration, my department conducts important geoscientific work every year, and all the data acquired is sorted and made available to all companies. Still in the area of exploration, we recently launched, in fact, last month, a new specific program to support companies doing mineral exploration work related to critical minerals. We also offer several kinds of other programs to stimulate R&D and innovation in mineral extraction, processing, and recycling. And as you mentioned, Jocelyn, Quebec is one of the most attractive mining jurisdictions in the world. Why? Because investors can count on a reliable and well-established mining ecosystem. They can rely on other assets, including the fact that we have clean energy, because we are one of the few places in the world where a low carbon is possible, since Hydro-Québec, our crown corporation, generates more than 99% of its electricity from water, a clean, renewable energy source at a low cost, and we can provide power to most miners and manufacturers. And we have also many institutional and state investors to support proponents. In terms of financing, we have a large portfolio of financial incentives such as loans, loan guarantees, grants, governmental partnerships in equity, rebates for large electricity consumers, and different tax credits being corporate or for R&D. But you have to note, and it's important, that we don't want to lead a project, but we can be part of it. And these various tools, as well as those from the federal government, the Canadian government with whom we are working closely, it allows us to better fit the needs of any partner. And another reason for our appeal, I believe, is the fact that we put an initiative in place a few years ago with different departments to reduce the time required to issue rights and permits. And so far, companies in Quebec have expressed their satisfaction about that work. And at the environmental level, we have a clear and robust legal framework that provides predictability. And we can also, in some cases, found new infrastructures required for both industrial and local communities. On the other hand, we have social acceptability, which is a big issue, and it is very important for us. We have different tools to guide proponents in their work and in their exchanges and dialogue with local and Aboriginal communities. And I want to mention also that we have various agreements and treaties signed by the government of Quebec with Aboriginal communities over the past decade. And the most recent one was signed back in 2020 with the Cree Nation government to promote notably economic development. So as you can see, the government of Quebec has clearly identified its priorities. And we believe that we are at the crossroads where different stakeholders can work together, better work together for greater collaboration to create opportunities and wealth. And to conclude, I would simply say that we are clearly open for business. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathalie. Thank you. And as you just mentioned, supporting a promoter at the early stage of a mining project development is really key to de-risk such project and help the promoter to go faster. So, Mr. Brisson, please explain us who is SOQUEM and how SOQUEM is working to develop projects and eventually partner with junior mining companies.
Certainly. Thank you, Jocelyn, for your introduction. Just a few words to say that I'm glad to be here with my dear colleagues today to represent SOQUEM as a president and CEO. So I joined SOQUEM last January. So I'm fairly new in the group. So just as, next slide, please. Just to explain what is SOQUEM. So, well, SOQUEM is a pretty unique thing in the exploration ecosystem in Quebec, and I think all around Canada as well. So SOQUEM is an acronym for Société québécoise d'exploration minière. It was created in 1965 by the Quebec government to help to find new deposit and put it in production. So SOQUEM mission is to explore, discover, and develop the mineral potential of Quebec. For decades, SOQUEM has been a catalyst for exploration and development of mining projects. SOQUEM is fully funded by Investissement Québec, which is an economic development arm of the Quebec government. Considering this financial structure, SOQUEM is definitely less sensitive to market and metal prices fluctuation, creating a sustainable exploration process. SOQUEM activities cover all aspects of exploration, including project generation, drilling, grassroots to delineation drilling, resource estimate, and pre-economic assessment. SOQUEM head office is located in Val d'Or, and we have also a field office located in Chibougamau. Actually, SOQUEM team include 23 employees, including 15 geologists. So in a few words, actually, SOQUEM is a mineral exploration company. We're not an investment fund. We own 60 properties across Quebec territory, and we are managing exploration programs from, as I said, grassroots to pre-economic assessment. SOQUEM portfolio include multiple commodities and elements, including as well CSM. I would say that probably 60 to 70% of our portfolio is constituted by CSM or base metals. We also have multiple projects in partnership with other companies, which is a strong point with SOQUEM, that we have actually 10 different partners and different projects. Next, please. A bit of history. SOQUEM, as I said before, was created in 1965 as a government corporation. To date, SOQUEM has contributed directly to 8 significant discoveries in 8 different commodities and development of 6 mines in Quebec's province, 3 of which are still in production today. Since the beginning, SOQUEM has participated in more than 350 exploration projects and contributed to major discoveries of gold, diamonds, lithium, and other CSM minerals as well. Next, please. SOQUEM business model. So if you look at the simplified mining cycle, SOQUEM intervention is mostly at the exploration phase. So within the first 5 to 15 years of activity on a project, starting to, as I said before, project generation, field work, drilling, exploration with or without partners. Sometimes we have the capacity to option, to joint venture. We're also going to resource estimate and PEA. The next phase in the mining cycle, so construction and mining, will be covered by Ressources Québec and Investissement Québec, and I will speak about them later on. Next, please. Speaking about partnership, so partnership is in SOQUEM DNA. The advantages of partnership is essentially risk, expense, and expertise sharing. As a state society, we have a dynamic association with companies, which creating synergy, and we have the capacity to make more with less money than many other. There's a two-way for partnership. So speaking about bi-directional partnership, so SOQUEM acquires interest in partner's project, or partner acquires interest in SOQUEM project. So both are possible, actually. So this is the presentation for SOQUEM, brief presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tony. So as we all know, in the critical and strategic mineral sector, having a proven mining production process is crucial in the development of a new project. So Mr. Fournier, how is Corem helping promoters with those specific issues?
Well, thank you very much, Jocelyn. I'm very pleased to be part of this roundtable today. Maybe just start with a few words about Corem. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
So basically, Corem is a private organization, but a non-profit organization dedicated in mineral processing. Our mission is to develop and create innovative solutions for the mining sector in working closely with our members, customers, and also our partners. And partners, we have both government partners and also research and innovation partners. Roughly, we have an annual budget between 20 and 22 Canadian million dollars, where the industry is very important. And as I mentioned earlier, the funding that we get from government, it's a real partnership that we have with the Quebec government, especially, and with also the federal government. Next slide. Annually, we conduct roughly 250 innovation projects. In the bottom, you can see the list of our members that they contribute to our pre-competitive research and innovation program. But we do work with different companies all around the world on a contractual basis to help them to develop their project, to develop new processes and new technologies. In fact, we are based in Quebec City, so we have a strong presence in Quebec and in Eastern Canada, but as you can see, we have a project almost everywhere. Next slide. Regarding the critical and strategic minerals, let's say the main challenges that we are addressing at Corem, it's clear everything that we do, it's always in order to improve the competitiveness of the different projects, but without compromising the environmental impact. So it means everything that we can do to reduce the water consumption, the energy consumption, it's part of our priorities. Also, we work with the different junior companies and also operating companies to reduce the GHG emission through the implementation and the development of clean technologies, as well with the strategic and critical mineral sector. We help them to, let's say, to implement or to provide products to the other sectors like the transport electrification or digital transformation or materials for batteries and productions. And we do that through really de-risking technologies. Even if it's a new technology or an existing technology is very important. The de-risking phase is very important. And we do that for incremental innovation, transformative and disruptive innovation too. So the concept of the technology risk reduction is so important to make sure that we have benefits, or it's economical and it's environmental and social acceptable. Next slide. Few examples why in fact in Quebec we have let's say a unique approach, some case success factors. So first of all, we have a strong research and innovation ecosystem. And it starts with the academia, where the knowledge development and the training of HQPs is very important. We have strong research and technologies organization, yes, like Corem, but also Consorem that is dedicated in exploration, but also other organizations. On the right, it's only a few examples. We have at least probably 12 and 15 organizations that support the mining sector and the development. The private sector is really present, so the equipment suppliers and solution providers that provide also innovative solution. And one thing that Ms. Camden mentioned, innovations funding programs, the strategic and the critical and strategic mineral plan that the Quebec government launched as an innovation component, and that helps to, let's say, de-risk the different projects that we work on. We have a world-class expertise and infrastructures. The de-risking at all development stage is very important. Being able to work at the lab, pilot plant, and demonstration plant level help to, let's say, develop and deploy innovation in the industry. Next slide. To conclude, we have a real collaborative approach within the industry. So at Corem, our pre-competitive research program, it's a place where the industry share the needs, their needs, share the risk associated and also the resources, but they can get have access to the results. And a partnership approach within the innovation ecosystem. We do everything to optimize the use of our resource infrastructures and expertise, build multidisciplinary team. In fact, we want to make sure that we avoid duplication in order to accelerate the development and the deployment of the innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. So now that we have seen the main principles of action of the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, as well as SOQUEM and Corem, let's see how that could be operational in a specific case of a rare earth element project or lithium project, for example. So, Mr. Brisson, in such cases, a particular rare earth element project or lithium project, how SOQUEM could have helped to reduce the financial risk of a junior mining company at the exploration level? And do you have some examples to tell us about?
Certainly, Jocelyn. Let's take an example of a partnership between SOQUEM and a public company. There's many advantages and synergy possible to lower the risk. Yes, indeed, financial de-risking is a major point considering SOQUEM access to financing and our capacity to execute exploration work. Also, SOQUEM can bring expertise and knowledge regarding territories, communities, legislation, and permitting. We have also a strong reputation and an extensive network of Quebec-based contractors and service providers. And finally, and nonetheless, we have a strong team of geologists who can support any type of exploration work.
Well, thank you. Earlier in your presentation, you said that SOQUEM is a sister company of Ressources Québec. What is the role of that organization in the development of a project?
Good question, Jocelyn, thank you. Ressources Québec field of intervention start at the pre-feasibility and feasibility stage of a project to the construction decision. Like SOQUEM, Ressources Québec is also a division of Investissement Québec, which is an economic development arm of the Quebec government. Speaking about HiQ, we can take the lead for the mine construction and the production itself. So within this advanced project, IQ can provide an array of financing and investment tools to assist companies and project developers in realizing their goals. Some of these tools can be, for example, equity investment and various forms of debt financing.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you. Mr. Fournier, you told us about the expertise, the technical expertise of Corem. What experience or example can you tell us about where Corem reduced the technical risk of a rare earth project or a lithium project?
So we have every year many, let's say, many projects, many experiences or example about how we can reduce the technical risk. But I think first of all, it's important to mention that every project that we conduct, we have always a strong industry involvement. So the industry is part of our development. It's part of what we do. And for us, it's very important to understand the needs of each project, but also to understand the deposit that we have to work with. The other thing, an important thing to mention, as I said in my introduction, the capacity to do the scale up. It's fine to work at the lab level because you can develop a process that with a few kilograms it works, but when it's time to test the process with tons and tons, it's very important to be able to do the scale up of the process and the different technologies. And that's something at Corem that we have the capacity and we do, because sometimes it can work at the lab level, but you have, when you go to the pilot plant level, you have to go back to the lab to revalidate or to review the process. Finally, another example, and it's something that we are developing with the support of the Quebec government. We are putting in place a collaborative approach with the rare earth elements industry. So basically, we bring a few rare earths junior company together around the same table to share, in fact, to share their needs. We will build an R&D program, let's say a generic R&D program that will help to accelerate the development. So instead to develop in parallel different projects, there is some components that they can put together. And Corem, we are developing, let's say, generic solution that will need to be, let's say, adapted for every project after, but that will help to avoid, let's say, having different companies doing exactly the same work in parallel. So it's the third example that we are putting in place.
Thank you. It's a really good example of how to reduce the risk for such projects. Now, globally, Mrs. Camden, how some activities coordinated through the Quebec critical and strategic mineral plan are helping to reduce the risk in such rare earth projects or lithium projects?
We have many measures that we put in place, and as you know, Quebec is fortunate to have many critical minerals on our territory. In fact, 22 are on our list, including rare earth elements, graphite and lithium, and many projects in these sectors are on the way. And as I mentioned before, what we want with our plan is to favor the development of these minerals value chain by fixing priorities and working in collaboration. And rare earth elements and lithium are part of those sectors that we want to develop through all kinds of actions. So our first orientation, as I mentioned before, is to increase new scientific knowledge in this field. And to achieve that, we have dedicated 1/3 of the budget allocated to the plan to focus mainly on critical minerals. And while it is great to have exploration activities and discover deposit, in certain cases, we have to be able to get there to exploit them. And by improving infrastructures and access corridors to critical minerals is another challenges that we're facing. To do so, what we do is we want to go through a planning that is integrated in a manner to work with industrial partners as well as local communities. And in that way, we want to share the cost among users and consequently reduce financial risk. And like in the past, our government is committed to play an active role in that sense. And depending and according to the form of the governmental participation, the project will have to offer, of course, a prospect of return on investment or a repayment horizon for the government. Another area that our plan supports is, of course, the development of critical minerals is R&D. And our goal in that field is to better support companies in carrying out their R&D projects in order to innovate and improve their competitiveness. And you know, transformation and processing is particularly complex and risky for a private company. specifically for critical minerals. And we feel that we need to be there as a government to go through this crucial phase. And for rare earth elements, as mentioned by Francis, it's a concrete example of a new way of doing. And we believe that this research will advance knowledge of rare earths by building, of course, on existing expertise in Quebec, but also at looking at different partnerships elsewhere in the world. And within the government, we want to grow our own expertise and knowledge on the environmental impacts and the management of critical minerals, either at the phase of exploration or extraction, transformation, and recycling, including rare earths. And we believe that the development of this knowledge will make it possible to ensure that these new sectors are developed with respect to the environment, to sustainable development principles, and also being able to respond to some people's concerns. So as you can see, these are different initiatives that we put in place to support the development of critical minerals, including rare earth elements and lithium.
Thank you, Nathalie. So in conclusion, with all of these financial tools, technical tools, and the coordinated action, we can conclude that Quebec built a unique business environment favorable to mining project development. We've seen a strong focus on the critical and strategic mineral sector. So no secret told, but good practices of collaboration between all the stakeholders who really know each other and work together is the key of a success, and the key under the supervision of the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, acting as a leader, as a coach of a strong and unified team. Thank you.